How to master anything on guitar. In this video, I will demonstrate my method for learning, practicing and mastering anything on guitar. I've been using this method since my first few months of learning the guitar, and I continue to use it to this day to master more complex and advanced concepts. This method works for guitarists and musicians of any level, whether you're a beginner, intermediate or advanced. It also works for any specific area that you're looking to target on guitar. So whether it's a song, a scale, a chord progression, a riff, a technique, or anything else, by applying this formula, you will see progress and results. So to learn and master anything on guitar, you only need to remember this simple formula. And that formula is as follows: speed plus accuracy. I always tell my students that in order to play anything really well on guitar, you can break it down to a simple combination of speed plus accuracy. So it's no good being able to play something really well, but not at the right tempo, and not at the right speed, and not with the right rhythm. And on the flip side, it's no good being able to play something at the right speed, but executing it poorly and inaccurately. You need that combination of being able to play it really accurately and at the right tempo. So with that in mind, in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to learn and apply this method for beginners and for intermediate and advanced guitar players. To successfully apply the speed plus accuracy method, it involves sacrificing one element of it in order to master the other. So no matter what level you're at, beginner, intermediate or advanced, first of all, you need to be able to learn something slowly, focusing and mastering the accuracy while sacrificing the speed. Next, you need to be able to try and force your fingers to be able to execute this idea at speed while sacrificing the accuracy. With continued repetition of this method, you will then start to see that you're able to perform and execute these concepts with both speed plus accuracy. So let's break this down now, and we're going to have a look at some examples of how you can do this for whether you're a beginner or an intermediate/advanced student. So how can you apply this method if you are a beginner? One area that I find that beginners struggle with the most is chord changes. So once they've learned those first open chords, it's actually switching between them in a song at speed and accurately. So sometimes they may be able to change from G to C, for example, but that change to the C chord is quite sloppy, in that the C chord isn't quite ringing out. So by applying this speed plus accuracy method, we can see gradual improvements on the guitar until we reach the level of mastery. Let's take a simple chord progression. We're going to go from G to D to C and then back to D. That's going to sound like this. Here's your G, D, C, and then back to D. We're now going to organise that into a chord progression, and we're going to do that at 100 beats per minute. I'm also going to add a very basic strumming pattern in there as well. And we have this 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you are a beginner and that was too fast for you, let me show you how we can break this down and master it using the speed plus accuracy method. I always tell my students that if something is too fast for you when you first start to try and learn it, then break it down and practice it in your own time. So we're going to sacrifice the speed, but we're really going to focus on the accuracy. So for this to work, I'm not going to use the metronome in this initial stage. I'm just going to focus on getting the rhythm, the strumming pattern and the chords accurately. So you may be struggling with that consistent rhythm at first. So with that in mind, we're going to do it like this. So we have G, and then to a D really slowly. Then to a C, make sure all the fingers are in the right location, in the right place. And then back to the D. Then the D. So you can hear in that example, I wasn't focused on playing everything in time. I was just focused on playing this chord progression really, really well. The next thing to do is once you've learned how to change those chords and once you've learned where to place your fingers and everything sounds good, is to start to reduce your target tempo and gradually increase it until you've mastered it. So our chord progression was 100 beats per minute. If that's too fast, then reduce it to a speed where you're comfortable with. For some of you that might be 60 beats per minute, for some of you that might be 70, for some it may be even less. But the point is that we start to try and practice it in rhythm. So the next stage is to try and perform this chord progression up to full speed. So try to get to your target tempo. In this instance, we're going to sacrifice the accuracy for the speed. And we're going to try and force our fingers to move in time with the drum beat or the metronome. In this instance, because we're sacrificing the accuracy and we're focusing on the speed, it doesn't matter if things aren't quite accurate to begin with. So even if your fingers are all over the place and you're missing a few beats and a few bars, it doesn't matter. Just try and nail those chord changes in time. So now this is going to be a little bit difficult for me because I'm going to have to try and perform this quite sloppily on purpose, but hopefully you'll get the point. So my metronome's clicking in 100 beats per minute and I'm going to try and perform this badly at speed. So 1, 2, 3. So at first you may need to leave a couple of the strums out in order to make the changes. You may even be missing a couple of the changes like that, but try to keep up and try to catch up. Even if the chords aren't quite ringing out as they should, so even if you're getting this, doesn't sound that great, at least your fingers are moving to the right places or roughly the right places on the guitar and they're moving in time. So the key thing here is to keep going back and practicing the accuracy element. So once you've done that and you've thought that, well, actually I was in time and it was up to speed, but I wasn't very accurate, go back and start practicing the accuracy element again. Then you need to go back and practice the speed portion of things without the accuracy until the two start to meet in the middle. The other thing you can do is when you go back to practice the speed element of things, you can gradually reduce your target tempo. So let's say in this example it was 100 BPM. You can go back and try and practice things well at 60 beats per minute, 70 beats per minute, and then 80, and gradually increase until you have your target tempo. So now let's take a look at applying the same concept for intermediate and advanced guitar players. Even though the first example was quite basic and you're probably beyond that level, you can still apply this method for learning more complicated licks, riffs and phrases, even if they're really fast and really hard to learn. Let's take a pentatonic idea and I'm going to play it at 100 beats per minute. It's not going to be anything too difficult, it's going to be an intermediate type idea. And we're going to see how we can apply the speed plus accuracy method to break it down and master it. So here's my lick. It's going to sound like this. 3, 4. I'll play it again. 2, 3, 4. So it doesn't have to be that specific idea. This is just an example. It could be anything that you're trying to look at on guitar. But let's say, for example, that lick at first was beyond you and it's too quick and it's too hard. Again, as with the beginner example, we're first going to sacrifice the speed and we're only going to focus on the accuracy. So I'm going to make sure that I've learnt it really well. I'm going to make sure that all the hammer-ons and pull-offs are sounding good. I'm going to make sure that I can play the whole thing and that I've memorised it. So sacrificing the speed and just focusing on the accuracy, I might start to look at it like this and play it with no rhythm at first. So really slow, really considered, just making sure that I can play it and I've memorized it. The next part is to try and play that at full speed as quickly as you can. So as soon as you think you've got it, try to get it at your target tempo. So for us it was 100 beats per minute. I'm now going to focus on sacrificing the accuracy for the speed. This is to train my fingers to be able to work and move at the speed that they actually need to be able to. I've found that too many people will actually try to practice something and learn something mainly focusing on the accuracy and not the speed. This is often the case for beginners because it can be a blow to the ego if you're trying to play something at full speed and you can't. Just remember that it's not a problem, it's all good practice and it's all part of the learning. So now we're going to put that metronome on at 100 beats per minute and we're going to try and play that idea up to speed, and I'm going to demonstrate some examples of not being able to play it accurately but being able to play it up to speed. So at first you might get halfway through and stumble and forget. You may even not be able to play it this quickly, and you may stumble over a couple of notes. I'm now going to play it at the right speed, but I'm going to play it with poor technique. So it may be that it sounds like the last example where it's too fast for you and everything sounds really stiff and really rigid. The idea is to merely use the full speed example as a test for whether you can play it up to speed or whether you need more work. So if it's a struggle for you at the full speed, you need to go back and you need to practice the accuracy portion, and you need to start reducing the target tempo and gradually working your way back up until you've fully mastered it. So with the speed and accuracy method, there are also two more parts to the formula to remember. So it's not just speed and accuracy, it's also speed plus accuracy plus repetition plus consistency. You need to keep repeating these things until it becomes boring, and then you need to keep going after that. So keep trying to hit that target tempo. If you can't quite do it, go back, revisit anything that might be a sticking point, and keep trying and trying again until you get it. You also need to be consistent, so you must make sure that you're practicing at least 20 minutes a day on anything that you need to practice. So speed plus accuracy plus repetition plus consistency. Repeat and be consistent every day and you will be able to master anything on guitar, no matter what it is. Make sure that if you're a beginner, you are practicing in time as often as you can. Even if it's not quite accurate and it sounds like a mess at first, with repetition and consistency, it will sound great if you just keep going. Thanks very much, everyone. Check out my website, coachtheguitarteacher.com, for more lessons, backing tracks and blog posts. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you ring the bell to get notified of all my guitar lessons and backing tracks in the future. I'm Paul Burke. Take care, enjoy guitar playing, and thank you.